Okay, welcome back to the Jiu Jitsu Mindset. My name is Pete Deely, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Professor Lucas Hubo. Professor, good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. How are you doing today, Peter?
Well, how do I look in this t-shirt, Professor? That's
Always great. Always
always
great.
great.
Handsome every day. You look to the mirrors like, how is that possible? Looking better every day.
We're gonna do this podcast 5 times a week if we're gonna start like that. That's the way that I wanna start the day. So the podcast is we're growing up. We got our own website now, the jujitsumindset.com. And other people are going to look even better in this t-shirt. So if people want to either get that or the submission coffee going into the tournament tomorrow. Luckily, submission coffee is still not identified as a performance enhancing drug. So you can order it too. We have found people increasing their submission rate who drink it just so that way they're warmed. We've been so lucky. We've had just amazing guests, and today, we have another amazing guest. So the divine has smiled on us, and we are continuing to have just wonderful people join us. And today, I'm going to cede the floor to you, Professor Lucas. Why don't you tell us about our guest today?
Awesome. Thank you so much. So today I have honor to have here Professor Vivi Almeida. Professor Vivi, she's a first-degree black belt under her husband, Flavio Almeida, her brother, Márcio Feitosa, and also Master Carlos Gracie Jr. So Vivi is a true ambassador of Jiu-Jitsu, especially being one of the ones that is being putting so much effort to try to bring more ladies to Jiu-Jitsu. We all know how good Jiu-Jitsu can be for all the world, and being able to have this happening more often for the female with self-defense, is a good introduction, and class structure is specific for ladies. And anyway, it's amazing. It's an honor to have her here. So thank you so much for the time and to be here with us today, Professor Vivi.
Thank you guys for inviting me. Happy to be here. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about Jiu-Jitsu. That's what we love to do.
Yes, for sure. We can do this all day. Professor Vivi, like I was saying, well, for those that are listening to us, Professor Vivi, she's married with Professor Flavio Almeida, the little dog, multiple times, championing all Jiu-Jitsu tournaments as possible. So definitely a well-known name in the Jiu-Jitsu community. Plus, have been a sister of Professor Márcio Feitosa, Jiu-Jitsu Hall of Fame, multiple times, IBJJF World Champion. I think more than 7 finals on the World Championship as a black belt adult. So you were in Jiu-Jitsu since forever, I believe, right? At least knowing what it was on that time. And I want to ask you, how long it took for you actually do your first class, knowing all the environment, have those all influence coming from everywhere. How long it took for your first class and how that was?
I've been involved forever, you're right, and it took me forever to join. It's funny that the first group class that I joined, it was in US in 2007. It's funny to say that I'm Brazilian, that I was, involved with the community, the Gracie Barra community, since I am 6 years old. And, it wasn't very inclusive for women back then, let's put this way. And what was already inclusive was the community. I was so comfortable to cheer for my brother and for my boyfriend back in the days, now my husband, and all the sisters, wives, watching tournaments and hanging out together. I used to love that, but it wasn't very inclusive for women to train Jiu-Jitsu back then. And it wasn't even a thing that I thought it would be for me. My family moved to Baja in 1985, 86, end of 85, 86. And there was a gym across the street from my house that they offered all kind of activities. And my mom signed me up for dance, jazz, and signed my brother up for jiu-jitsu, Gracie Barra. very common.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I end up
Did she
trying.
know, sorry, Vivi, did she know about jiu-jitsu on that time? Was just something like a common sense for the boy to martial art?
Yes, just boys do martial arts,
Yeah.
girls do dance.
Mm.
You know, I was trying actually all kind of sports and activities. I switched to swimming, volleyball, capoeira. I've tried everything that gym could offer. And my brother never ever stopped jujitsu.
Hmm.
He was so into it. That was, you know, amazing to see
Mhm.
his commitment and loyalty. And his best friends were like all from jiu-jitsu. And I used to, you know, love that. And I couldn't understand how. I was like all over the place, you know, but I was
Mhm.
trying to participate a little bit, you know, just watching tournaments, but not, you know, training actually.
Yeah, so it wasn't something inclusive at all, and took, like you said, took forever to start actually doing a group class. And
What,
when
Well,
was yeah, go
for
ahead,
you
Peter.
to have for you to have an idea to talk to my brother, let's say I wanted to talk to him in the middle of training, or you know, my mom wanted me to tell him something. We didn't have phones back then that
yeah,
we
right.
could text each other.
Mhm.
So I had to ask one of the guys to go call my brother to talk to me. In a way, it was not even appropriated for girls to be around. It was more like a guy's cave. They were very comfortable to talk about anything,
Right.
change. It was, you know, it wasn't very inclusive, and it was my brother thing. You know, I was like, I'm not gonna, you know, mix this activities, like it's not mine, it's his.
It's yeah.
And I feel like a lot of girls used to feel this way back then, not only me.
Mhm.
So, Professor Vivi, you should know, like I'm the father of, I have four daughters, and so they range from 13 to 27. So the availability of the choices that they have, I think, as girls and women, are so different now than they would have been previously. You know, certainly when I'm 53, so you know when I was a teenager and whatnot, there was so many fewer options, I feel like, for girls and women to participate. Can I ask you, like, what was the thing that moved you from thinking this isn't for me to this is for me? Because that seems like that's a pretty big boundary, given that earlier in your life that boundary sounds pretty thick. Like, hey, one side is for the boys and my brother, and the girls don't really go in there. And then that changes. So what was the thing that made that change?
There is two things. I remember when my brother and Master Carlos and the team moved to US in 2005.
Hmm.
Things were already changing to be more inclusive. The uniform, the classes, separated by age
Hmm.
and for kids, and by level for
Mhm.
adults, a curriculum that was being developed, the attendance cards, all the little details, the rash guard underneath was huge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
I remember training. I started in 2003, right? So Gracie already had the uniform, but no rash guard yet. So Peter, just for having an idea, the most common thing was, first of all, like training without shirt or rash guard because you didn't have it, right?
Right.
Or in the middle of the sparring, someone asked, hey, you want to do a no-gi? Yeah, sure. You just took the top out. You do like shirtless,
Right.
and whoever is there, you know? So that's is a big deal for everyone. Luckily, we have the rash guys now, but especially for the ladies, right?
Yeah, for women, it could be very uncomfortable, you
Mm.
know, to train with someone
Sure.
that it's like shirtless and sweating on your face. So when these things were just like an idea, my brother, told me, hey, things are changing and we believe in the United States, we're going to be able to provide a very inclusive jiu-jitsu experience for everyone. And I feel like you should already, think about to learn self-defense. That's what he said. I was still in Brazil, and he was able to contact some friends to teach me self-defense. And it was lunchtime. So we know in Brazil, all the gyms are very slow lunchtime. No one is there lunchtime. So, it had to be lunchtime for you to be on the mats learning self-defense with a guy. It had to be lunchtime. So I had some private classes back then, just like workout clothes, never put a gi on in Brazil. And then moving forward to 2007, when Flavio and I decided to move to US, things were already more inclusive. It's when because of the community, answering your question, I was already helping them with everything at the school, but not training. And it was my first year in US, trying to learn English, make friends, understand more about the culture. And that group was already forming. And I was, again, attracted by the community, not the jiu-jitsu itself, not the techniques or any desire to compete or anything. I wanted to be a part of the community. And that's how I started. And I put my gi on for the first time with the rash guard, ready like GB1 class. So I am a part of the jiu-jitsu for everyone.
Yeah. So you're of the people we could talk to, you have probably like the clearest perspective of the movement from jiu-jitsu as a force in the world, but is only for a certain group of people, to the expansion of it until we land where we are today, where jiu-jitsu for everyone is a true statement, where there's lots of girls, lots of women that are a part of, the schools. I'm a beginner. And so when I go and watch the tournaments and train, I'm always struck by what I consider to be the equality of attention that people are paying, to my eye, equal attention to particularly the young ones, like the girls and the boys. It's not like the girls are doing a different version of jiu-jitsu. They're all doing jiu-jitsu. And the fact that one group is girls and one group is boys is less important than in other sports, because in other sports, I feel like sometimes it's perceived as a less interesting or less competitive dynamic. But in jiu-jitsu, it feels very equal to my eye. And I think that holds true as it goes up the ranks and up the age groups as well. So that's you seem to have been at the center of that kind of change and that movement.
We're still fighting to everyone feel this way.
Okay.
You are in a very inclusive school. Your professor is a great professor. His wife trains jiu-jitsu. He is very good with kids, but we're still fighting to see that all over the world, and it's not like that yet.
Right.
And that's what I hope one day is going to be. So I was lucky too, because when I joined the jiu-jitsu classes in 2007, my brother was the professor. So I had a very nice person teaching me, someone that loves me, that takes care of me. And how do we guarantee that all the professors out there have the same care? How can we make that first contact for women very comfortable?
Right.
You know, I feel like that's the work, because it's very natural for boys to fight
Right.
and just like
Yeah.
grapple each other, wrestle each other, and it's since they're 2 years old.
Yes.
So women, I feel like when they come to jiu-jitsu, I feel like I not only teach them jiu-jitsu, but I give them permission to fight.
Yes.
I usually tell them, like, it's okay to fight. It's okay. You are a fighter.
Right.
Because their natural instinct is to take care of each other to the point where I don't want to hurt you.
Sure.
You know, and it's okay to be a little bit aggressive. You're not hurting anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
You're learning how to protect yourself. You know, it's a process that a lot of people understand. A lot of people are on the same boat as me, but I still feel like some of them don't, did not have that exposure to that side of the art, or
Yes.
maybe because they don't have any sister or
Sure.
a wife, or they never had women training at their schools,
Yes. Right.
so they don't have passion for that, whatever that is.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that makes an awful lot of sense, because I think the things that I'm observing are informed by my professor, who is extraordinary about like the way that our school is run, and I feel like Professor Lucas is teaching about character as much as he's teaching about jiu-jitsu. And so I think I probably have a skewed positive perspective, where you have a global perspective, where as you talk, I recognize that like I don't, I haven't even been to that many other schools, right? So I have a very narrow point of view. What you're talking about, and excuse me, Professor Lucas, for jumping in with too many questions,
All
but
right.
as a father of daughters, I mean, that what you're talking about is probably, one of the things I'm most interested to hear your perspective. And that is, as you have touched increasingly large number of women's lives, could you talk a little bit about the changes that happen psychologically to women as you give them permission and those women experience fighting, as they are doing things that they may have been taught, hey, we don't do this as girls and women, like we don't fight, or whatever you might want it. We're not aggressive in this particular manner. And my kids were not martial arts kids growing up, but they don't lack for aggression. Like they're toughies. They develop that differently. But I feel like jiu-jitsu provides such a unique way into that idea. So I'm interested to hear maybe some stories or perspectives about what jiu-jitsu has given women that maybe they wouldn't get it in other places.
To me, because what I do is to share what jiu-jitsu has done for me, right? So I feel like we do have this very genuine style of sharing our passion for jiu-jitsu at Gracie Barra.
Yes.
Every school that you go, you feel like people are very genuine about that. So I try to be as much as I can. I'm not trying to sell, jiu-jitsu as a membership, but I try to share it as a tool to change people's lives, really. But in the first place, I try to find out what they're lacking in life, because we all do lacking something that we would like to improve and be better. If you don't believe in yourself and you have a few examples to say that, like I do, I used to give up even before trying things in my life. before jiu-jitsu, if I was scared of something, let's say of a job interview or a test, I would call sick and not showing up. What jiu-jitsu has taught me is that you go, you're going to do your best, you're going to fight for what you want. If it doesn't work this time, you tap and you reset and you try again and you come back stronger. And that's what jiu-jitsu taught me. So I share a few things based on what that person is looking for, because we're all different.
Sure.
You know, and I believe if they come to say, I want to compete, I want to be the next world champion, even though I am not a world champion, I'm able to share something that jiu-jitsu has done for me that would help that person to become the next world champion.
Yes.
And I'm sure that I would have examples of people I know, they're very close to me, that has gone through this training to become a world champion, that I would be able to share. And you mentioned that Professor Lucas is all about the, philosophy, values, and, all that mindset and everything. So I'm a lot like that too. I just feel like the last thing I compliment all that is the jiu-jitsu techniques.
Yes.
You know.
No, that's awesome. And Vivi, if you didn't say that about how you were like before start jiu-jitsu, I could never tell. We have known each other for about 7 years now. And Peter, when I first met Professor Vivi, I was afraid for a little bit. I was like, always make sure I was presenting myself well, speaking the right words, because she was always has that confidence, that you can see through her. And for what she's saying, a lot of this came from jiu-jitsu. What maybe wasn't something so natural the way how I was looking, and because to me it seems 100% like natural from your essence, as a person. And see this building in people, especially the ladies, it's something amazing, right? Like everyone that is coming to your class, our goal is try to provide the best service and the best experience ever on and off the mat. And having a female attending to the class, we multiply this, right, as many times as possible to provide the best experience, because we know, and we all here, and hopefully the ones that is listening to us, we know how good jiu-jitsu can be to their lives for whatever reason it is, but they don't know yet, right? So be able to understand deeply the reasons why they're there, because sometimes they might gonna say is I want to be a world champion, I just want to have a workout, but deeply we're always gonna have something else that we need to try to find out and show that how jiu-jitsu can help on that specific topic, right? And then you have the sports side, the tournament, which is amazing and everything, but that's just like a small piece of jiu-jitsu, right? What jiu-jitsu can give to you. And today, by coincidence, we're gonna have a ladies class, a self-defense class in our school, and have more than 35 ladies sign up already for this class, and more than half of them are random ladies. They're not our students, they're just coming in to have a great experience, learn a great skill, make friends, and have a good time on the mat. So it's really nice to see this movement growing and let the ladies be more welcome, right? Feel more welcome on the mats.
Yeah, that's amazing, to see a lot of women interested in learning self-defense. Like you said, like random, I believe you mean, because I had a brother and a boyfriend. Paula had you, her husband, to come. So your daughters had you, Pete, to come.
Yes.
When you say random, it's like, wow. Yeah. She doesn't know anyone here, and still she has the courage to come, step on the mats, and try this thing, which is extremely hard. I don't lie to them. Jiu-Jitsu is hard.
Yeah.
And if you want to have all these benefits, I'm telling you, you will. You know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 17 years. I know you will, but you have to embrace the hard, the challenge.
Mhm.
I remember going home crying a few times,
Sure.
a lot of times. You know, I think I stopped crying on my black belt. Through my collar belts, I cried so much, crying because I had a bad day of training, crying because I thought I should be better,
Mhm.
crying because this is so hard, my body hurts. For so many reasons, it's so hard, but
I'm
yeah,
glad
it's
to
so
hear.
good. I always wanted to come back next day.
So
You know,
there's a chance that I'll stop, Professor. See, maybe when I get my black belt, they'll. So
you
when you.
know, I only stopped. It was a very nice and special moment of my journey. It was a brown belt, struggling with my emotions, and you know, Flavio is my professor now. He has been since, you know, we moved from California to Arizona, because in California I had more people teaching me. I had my brother for a while, and he had this very a special conversation with me that has changed
Mhm.
everything. And I now try to share this with my students as much as I can, that it's really important to detach your emotions from training. What you're fighting is somebody's arm, somebody's leg, somebody's neck, and you're not fighting that person.
Mhm.
I used to get very upset and say, why Lucas had done that to me? He's my friend. I like him. We hang out together. He was so rough. I used to get mad at people, get mad at myself, get upset with someone that did not show me something. I was very emotional about this. And I feel like women are very emotional
Mhm.
in general.
Mhm.
How can we detach the emotions and practice, you know, the the fighting itself, like the movements, the techniques, and isolate from emotions. It was hard. It took me 4 years on my brown belt to get to this point, but I was able to do it. So that was something that I had to accomplish to earn my black belt from Professor Flavio, and I did it. It was a goal. Today, I feel like I can train with anyone and I don't get upset at all, not with myself, with the person. And I feel like I'm ready to not only, you know, keep pushing this training for the rest of my life without crying,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I feel like I can help women to do the same.
So, in the stories of your development as a jiu-jitsu athlete and how jiu-jitsu has, you talked a lot about like the specialness of your relationship to the people who were your, your professors, your teachers, and that most every other time won't be the case. Most every other time, there won't be somebody so careful because it's a sister, a girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband, wife. I mean, so that's going to be an unusual circumstance. When you look into the future about ways in which the jiu-jitsu community needs to adjust in order to convey some of the things that you were able to absorb, are there things that we can do as a community that can bring that about, rather than just rely on it being personality based or relationship based. Is it possible to do that, or how do you
I
see
think
that
it
for the
is.
future?
I think it is possible to have someone in charge, a leader that cares.
Right.
And it can be anyone. It doesn't need to be you.
Mm-hmm.
At your school, someone is taking care of that group.
Mm-hmm.
So it's somebody that could talk to them, listen to them, find out what they're looking for. And could be, it doesn't matter what belt that person is. It's someone
Sure.
that just like is there for them,
Mm-hmm.
that they can open up and feel comfortable. And I'm not able to be in 8 locations now that we run in Arizona, but I try to see if there is a female leader
Mm-hmm.
that could, be there to represent that group. Or, to be very honest, if it was Professor Lucas' school, if Paula was not there, I know he could be that person
Right.
because he cares. Or, if a guy say, man, I don't want to do that. I'm not comfortable talking to women. I'm not comfortable teaching them. My passion is in something else. Okay. Is there anyone, is there any student that you have that would, be a good fit for that position?
Yes.
And they just like, they're so close to us.
Mm-hmm.
So this class at Professor Lucas' school tonight, I'm sure it's one of his students, a female student that is teaching. He's not even teaching this class tonight for women.
Right.
So he was able to, inspire that student to become a leader. And now she's the one running the classes. I think that's the natural process that we should, do. And in this way, we have more female leaders out there.
100%.
And I'll be curious, because jiu-jitsu will be a part of my life going forward until the end of it. So having my perspective will broaden and grow as every year goes along. And when my part of my experience is experience as a student, as an athlete, as a member of the community. And I'm also curious about it as a business, because it is an interesting thing to look at. And I had been a part of the CrossFit community when it was everybody looking at some obscure website, and then over time it became this international phenomenon, and it was an interesting thing to watch. And although I don't have a long history of jiu-jitsu, it does feel like it is an inflection point that, it's changing and becoming more into particularly the United States culture than ever before. And it feels like it will continue to grow. And as a business, if you cross off half the population and you don't figure out how to attract and cultivate, women athletes and girl athletes, then it won't flourish quite as much. When you talk about identifying leaders and ways in which that will happen, is that perspective, because I have such a narrow view, is that perspective across the jiu-jitsu community as a whole? Or because my experience has been so great within the Gracie Bauer community, and it's what I've experienced the most, that I forget that I'm mostly experiencing things within a certain context. So is the jiu-jitsu community at large have the same perspective, or do you find it uneven, that certain parts of it are like, you know what, that's not really for us, and they're not cultivating it? Or is it pretty agreed upon that, no, we need to extend, make it comfortable for everybody?
I think Gracie Barra does a very good job communicating that through our instructors certification program. The professors in charge, our leaders, make very good videos about it, lessons about it, that we all study and watch. Not only that, like you said, there is a business now going on, and there's some people we look up to, right? So if you want to be a part of that and you want to be successful in that business, you're going to look up to the guys that are successful and what these guys are doing.
Right.
You know, so that's what Professor Flavius been doing. He cannot be at 8 locations at the same time. So there is 8 guys here as head instructors, you know, doing an amazing job that you cannot tell the difference. Like every Gracie Barra school you go in a valley, you have a great experience. They're all following the same class structure, the same curriculum, even teach commands and everything. So that's the only way to go, I believe. But still, there's people that won't follow, and they're still struggling, believing they can do it all. You know, you can do it all when you have one location.
Right.
You know, and still, I don't believe my way is the best way. I don't want to do it all in my school. I want to learn from other people. I want to mix what I can do with what other people can do, and we're stronger together. Right. We're a team. It cannot be Vivi's way, Vivi's style. So this GBF at a certain location cannot be Vivi. You know, it has to be GB. It has to be Gracie Barra. If Vivi is no longer here, you know, or if you know the program keeps going, you know, and that's, I believe, what we learn from the leaders, and that's what we try to pass on to our students.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating stuff, because I think what you're building is a structure and a culture that's dependent on values and not personalities. And that I as you know, this podcast has afforded me to talk to people with different types of connections to the history of jiu-jitsu. So we had Master Pedro Sauer on, and you know, his relationship to what I think of as more the beginnings of jiu-jitsu. My experience has been a lot of continuity of values. Like the people, Professor Robson Moura was on recently, you know, has had much success in his life, and humility and understanding that the community is more important than the individual's perspective, the willingness to learn from each other, the expectation to be safe with each other. You know, talk about tapping. We often express like the ability to tap in jiu-jitsu creates a relationship between people that doesn't exist in other sports, and how important that is. But as you're building these structures and these cultures, there'll be legacies that, you know, will live on past all of our lives because of the strength of and the value that people are getting out of them. I want to ask you, as we kind of head towards the, you know, the end of the hour here, if you had any stories that you would share of somebody that maybe didn't think that jiu-jitsu was for them, gave it a try, and then found it transformative. Is there anybody that, and there's probably many people that you could tell us stories about, but is there anyone that stands out in your mind as like, this was really either dramatic or unexpected that you could tell us about?
Besides myself?
Besides yourself. Yes. Besides yourself. Excuse me. Yes. In your observation of other people.
There is a few women that, you know, come to my mind. I can see the transformation. I feel like Paula is one of them. You know, she resisted so much to do it, and I get it, because when you have people so close to you, they're so good in jiu-jitsu. My family, we're 6 black belts. 3 on Flavi's side, 3 on my side. My daughters are feeling the pressure. So they don't want to do it. They feel they don't do good. If we're around they freak out.
Mhm.
And I used to feel this way. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself because my brother was so good, my husband was so good, so I have to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Until the day I realized I have my own journey.
Yes.
I'm not my brother, I'm not my husband. So one day, hopefully, my daughters will realize that there's no pressure for them to be anything but the best they can be, you know.
Right.
And I believe Paula was in that position, feeling I'm the professor's wife. I
Right.
have to be good. I'm not ready. I have to compete. I don't want to compete. I have to train really hard. And it's so hard. So I've seen a lot of professors' wives that
Yes, right.
resist so much.
Mm-hmm.
And when they decide to give it a chance, I see the transformation, and it's amazing. You know, they just become more confident women,
Right.
And it's beautiful to see it, you know, like even for the professors are very clear. I'm sure Lucas could
Oh,
share a
100%.
little bit
Yeah.
about that.
I'm listening to you and having images on my head. Because exactly like you were saying, Professor, Paula being my wife or whoever professor's wife, it generates a certain level of expectation. Nonsense, but it does, right? Everyone is like, or same thing to you, your whole family being a black belt, and everyone is already expecting on your very first class you'll be doing flying arm bars and crazy submissions and things like that. And that's not true. It doesn't make any sense to think like that, but that's how we do, right? And one day, years ago, talking with Professor Flavio, I was asking about the girls. I was asking like how much, Flavio, how much you push them to train. And he said something that it took, I got to my mind. I still apply that now these days with Paula. He said like, Luquinhas, they want or not, their life will be in jiu-jitsu. That's what we do. That's what I do. Vivi does, their uncles, like everyone. So you should be really careful on how much you're going to be pushing them, because you cannot have someone be traumatized by
Yes.
that much pressure, right? So coming on and off and a certain level of responsibilities, they're going to be training all their life until they decide if it's something that they want to carry by themselves and training longer, competing and everything. So they should be really careful on make sure you're having the exposure, right? You expose your jiu-jitsu to them, make them understand they have their own journey, it's not yours. And from that on, they will take their decision, right? And we know on the moment that you decide, you understand that you have your own journey in jiu-jitsu, you have your path to follow, almost no one will stop, right? Like jiu-jitsu is this amazing lifestyle, martial art, philosophy, whatever you want to call, that drive all of us to try to be a better human beings for ourselves, but for the community and for the others. So it's really nice to have you saying that. I still struggle sometimes. Even Paula, when she's training, she always say like, "Oh, you never coach me. You always coach the other girl." And no one else want to coach her because, well, she's my wife. Who gonna step my toes? So it's like try to find a balance. But I know exactly what you're saying. I believe Jiu-Jitsu has done a great transformation in her life as well.
Professor Vivi, it must be very interesting when there's a family conflict. It must be unusually, tense. I say that jokingly, but I find it ironic that that people who are in proximity to the best, like chances to learn from experts have, this barrier then, because there's all that pressure to be something other than to be on your own particular journey. Well, you know, thank you for telling us your personal journey of being someone who wasn't sure it was for you, as you are now 17 years in, and a professor yourself, how it's been transformative, and telling us, about the culture, and it's I hear optimism. It sounds to me like where you think we're going is something that will continue to deepen the notion that jiu-jitsu is for everyone. I mean, is that fair? Like where we're going in the future, you feel good about?
I think so. That's where we're going. And I feel like competition should be a topic, like very clear topic, especially with women. I believe the American culture is very strong in competition. So if you sign up your kids for any sport, you already
Yeah,
know what day they're going to be competing, and you push to competition. And it's very common and natural that you do a sport and you compete.
right.
What I try to make it very clear for a lot of people is that you don't have to compete. It's not a requirement. A lot of
Yes.
women don't want to do it because they feel like there is pressure to compete.
Yes.
And come on, you sign up for a self-defense class, you're 42 years old. You don't want to compete, and they need to know it's an option.
Right.
So I try to be that person
Mm-hmm.
because I don't compete.
Mm-hmm.
I teach, and
Right.
my passion was since the beginning for teaching. Before I even started jiu-jitsu, I was already teaching classes. And when they know that, they feel way more comfortable, less pressure. Like Professor Lucas said, oh, there is a community. There is a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
There's nice people here. Oh, it's a great workout. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to get in the best shape of my life.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to help others. I love helping.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's trips we can do. You know what I mean? There's much, so much going on
Yeah.
besides competition. And it's a very small group that want to compete, if you
Yeah.
think this way. So I feel like, to answer your question, to be able to spread the jiu-jitsu for everyone and
Right.
have more women,
Yes.
more people training, more people your age. You mentioned that you're on your 50s.
Right.
So a lot of guys on their 50s would love to learn jiu-jitsu,
Right.
but they don't want to put the work to compete.
Sure.
So if we're a little bit more open about that,
Yes.
how can
Yes.
we communicate? There's no pressure. You don't have to.
Yes.
I think like we can be even more inclusive
Yes.
than we
Yes.
are right now.
I love it. I love it.
Because
Well,
people don't know. We do know, but people out there don't know.
yes. Yes. Well, and
I feel like it's still a lack of communication to say, hey, it's okay.
that's why we started this podcast, is to kind of do exactly what we're doing here. And I'm so grateful that you so articulately describe where the boundaries are, like keeping people out, and then we need to be good communicators to kind of bring them in. And you do that extraordinarily well. And I'm grateful for that. And so for those of
Thank
you who are listening to us and you've been thinking, oh, should I try jiu-jitsu? You've been kicking it around and maybe you've had some anxiety. I don't want to go in that gym or try it because of the things we've been talking about today. I hope you feel more comfortable. We hope that you're willing to come in and sit and observe, just take a look, see how it feels, see how the people greet you, see what the community is like. We're confident that you're going to be really happy about it. And if you're a parent and you're wondering like, well, should I be putting my kids in this community, in this art, or, what are your concerns about what that might be bad for them? And what we're saying is that things that you're anxious about aren't actually present in the experience, that there's lots and lots of freedom to be a competitor, not be a competitor, take your time, have your intensity. Not every moment of every class needs to be something where you're going super hard, and that doesn't create a culture of judgment, that, oh, you need to every day be the same. So Professor Vivi, we would like to maybe invite you back in the future to talk more, because the professor and I have written down 36 more questions.
Absolutely.
I love that. Just complement what you're saying. I also see Jiu-Jitsu as a complement to any sport.
Yes.
My
yes.
kids
True.
do. My youngest is a
Yes.
swimmer.
Yeah.
My oldest is in cheer.
Mhm.
And I love your t-shirt, get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's what Jiu-Jitsu teaches us.
Right.
And teaches us how to fight.
Yes.
So if you want to be a great swimmer, you have to fight
Right.
and hard.
Right.
So Jiu-Jitsu is very raw, that puts you in a fighting setting that you cannot control much.
Right.
So that's real life.
I
You cannot control everything. But some sports, you're swimming by yourself and you can
Yes.
control all the movements that you do.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
you and yourself. Jiu-Jitsu, yes, you and yourself in the first place, but there is a person
Someone trying to
moving,
don't let
doing
you
things
do
that you
anything.
can't control,
Right.
putting you in positions that you have to adapt
Yes.
quick.
Yes.
Think fast, adapt, keep fighting, change plans all the time.
Yes. Yes.
So I feel like that's a very good training for any sport and a training for life.
Right. And that's like, as somebody who grew up prior to the notion that you should specialize as a child in a sport, I played many sports, and I think I was a healthier athlete for that. And I disagree with the specialization in children, like, hey, we're just going to play one sport all year round. So I love what you're saying there. And for me, more importantly, like in the business world, that fighting, that notion of not taking things as personally, all that is an advantage to everybody, but I feel like it's lessons that particularly advantage women because they don't always get those elsewhere. So those lessons that you learn as a child in those competitive environments, as you say, how to relax, how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, not take things personally. The competition is the competition of the moment, but it doesn't mean you can't be friends after the competition. All of those things, I think, give people lessons that they take with them their whole life. So we're super grateful that you took time with us. We hope to talk to you again. And Professor Lucas, anything to take us out? Any last words?
It's always a good day when we have this type of conversation, and so inspiring as well to listen to Professor Vivi for sharing all the stories and in her vision, to
Yes.
just the future and make this super welcome and inclusive. So I hope everyone that is listening to us take her words as something really, really serious, and let's bring more people as possible to this amazing community, because this definitely will change life for good. Just happy to be here one more day with all of you guys. So thank you all.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Vivi.
Thank you, guys. It was a great conversation indeed. I love talking about Jiu-Jitsu. I could be here for hours and hours. I would just get a new coffee and keep going.
Well, we're going to send you some submission coffee. So next
There
time
you
around,
go.
you can have some submission coffee with us.
And I have to say thank you for supporting Jiu-Jitsu for women. It's really
Yes.
important that we have the guys with us on this. Jiu-Jitsu is still, 9% of guys teaching
Yeah.
and training. So it's really important that you guys support and embrace the cause.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you're not only saying these beautiful things, you're actually doing as having your daughters training and your wife training and promoting self-defense classes for women and all that. That's how we're going to change this and have a better world, really, because the more women and kids come to our sport, more inclusive it's going to be, and you guys will be better because of it.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
it's like marriage,
Yes.
So you are better because you listen to your wife and
Yes.
you start developing things that you never thought it would be important as a guy, because you want to have a good relationship with her.
Right.
So in jiu-jitsu, it's the same thing. You will start developing skills that you never thought would be important for jiu-jitsu in order to have more women, and you're going to become a better person, and you're going to have more students, you're going to have a bigger community. It's a win-win.
Yes, all
And I
around.
want to thank you for
100%.
that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.